There is a quiet war we all fight, every morning, every evening, and sometimes every moment of the day. It's not with the world outside, it is with ourselves. The war is between what we say we want and what we repeatedly do. And in that war, the victor is chosen not by talent, not by luck, but by consistency. The truth is harsh but liberating. The life you dream of is not built in moments of passion. It is built in the boring, ordinary, quiet days where you still choose to show up. You want transformation, then force yourself to be consistent, even when no one is watching, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. Let's walk through 5 truths that will help you master the art and the discipline of consistency. You wake up some mornings with fire in your chest. The world feels conquerable. Your goals seem within reach. There's momentum, clarity, and maybe even a quiet kind of joy in moving forward. But then, without warning, the next day greets you with heaviness. The air feels thick. The same goals now look distant, absurd even. Nothing in the world has changed, but your emotions have, and that alone shifts your entire perception of reality. This is the trap that most people spend their lives in, believing that how they feel should decide what they do. But the truth is this: emotions are unstable by nature. They are visitors, transient, shifting, often irrational. To wait for the right mood, to act is to surrender your life to chaos. And yet this is what many do. They make emotions the compass of their actions. The result: lives built on sand, relationships collapse, dreams remain unfulfilled, and time slips away, not because the goal was unreachable, but because the will was too entangled with fleeting feelings. Discipline stands in stark contrast to this. Discipline is not loud. It doesn't come with an adrenaline rush or the glow of inspiration. It doesn't announce itself with excitement. In fact, discipline often feels dull, repetitive, even frustrating. But it is reliable. It's the quiet voice that says, "Do it anyway," even when your entire body wants to rest. It's the force that moves you through discomfort, not because it feels good, but because it leads to something meaningful. Consider the Olympic athlete, not the moment they win a medal, but the mornings they wake up in pain, drag their body out of bed, and show up anyway. They are not powered by some mystical motivation. They are moved by commitment. They are not immune to fatigue or discouragement. They simply have learned that if you wait to feel good before you act, you will never act often enough to master anything. The same is true for the writer staring at a blank page, the student trying to focus while overwhelmed, the parent showing up for their child after a sleepless night. These are not heroic acts in the eyes of the world, but they are the invisible backbone of transformation. When you act despite not wanting to, you are teaching your body and your mind who is in charge. You are shifting the center of control from emotion to will. There's a story told by James Clear in Atomic Habits about a man who wanted to lose weight. He didn't start with intense workouts. He didn't commit to an extreme plan. Instead, he went to the gym every day for just 5 minutes. That's it. He wasn't trying to burn calories. He was trying to build identity. By showing up consistently, he rewired his brain to see himself as the kind of person who keeps promises to himself. That 5-minute ritual was small, but sacred. It wasn't about results. It was about rhythm. This is what most people miss. They believe discipline has to be dramatic, but true discipline is not loud. It's consistent. It's the act of getting dressed for a run and walking outside, even if you don't run. It's opening the book and reading 1 page, even if you feel distracted. It's choosing not to yell when you're angry. These moments seem insignificant, but they are the bricks from which entire lives are built. The moment you stop being ruled by emotions, you become dangerous, in the best way, because now your actions have integrity. They are rooted in intention, not impulse. The world begins to trust you. More importantly, you begin to trust yourself. You stop being a slave to your moods and start becoming the architect of your future, and that kind of power doesn't come from feeling good. It comes from doing good over and over, especially when you don't feel like it. You do not become who you are all at once. Identity is not a lightning strike. It is not something gifted to you in a moment of inspiration or declared in a loud proclamation. It is something quieter, almost invisible, formed not in declarations but in decisions, repeated. It is born in the small choices, the unnoticed sacrifices, and the ordinary moments that most people overlook. Who you are becoming is always being shaped by what you choose to repeat. There is a temptation in all of us to believe that identity is fixed, that we are either talented or not, disciplined or not, capable or not. This illusion gives us comfort. It lets us off the hook. If I am just not good at this, then I no longer have to try. But what if the truth is the opposite? What if your identity is nothing more than the cumulative echo of your habits? What if who you are is simply what you do most often? Consider the act of writing. A person may say, "I want to be a writer," and then sit around waiting for inspiration to strike. But the real writer, the one who writes each day, even if it's messy, even if it's only a few sentences, slowly becomes one through repetition. Not because they declared it, but because they acted on it. Each page written is a thread, and over time those threads become a fabric that cannot be ignored. The identity is no longer a dream. It has become reality, earned, not claimed. The same is true of courage. You do not become brave by thinking about bravery. You become brave by choosing not to run when fear shows up. You become confident not by wishing it into existence, but by standing up and speaking when your voice shakes. Each time you do the thing you fear, a part of the fear dies, and something else is born in its place. You are not pretending, you are becoming. You are reinforcing a version of yourself that did not exist yesterday. This transformation is not loud. In fact, it is often imperceptible even to yourself. You may not notice how the way you sit changes, how your voice steadies, how your thoughts sharpen, but others will. They will see the shift not because of a single act of brilliance, but because of the quiet repetition that changed you when no one was watching. There's a story of a young girl who began joining a local running club. Every morning she showed up, nervous, unsure, and slower than the rest. One day, in frustration, she turned to her coach and said, "I'm not a runner." The coach looked at her and replied with calm conviction, "But you've shown up every morning this week. You already are one." What that coach understood is a truth that escapes many. Identity is not a title given from the outside. It is a reflection of consistent behavior. You don't earn it through perfection. You earn it through persistence. This is why repetition is sacred. Every time you show up, even imperfectly, you are casting a vote for the person you want to become, and these votes, added over days and months and years, form a character. You may not see the change immediately, but you are being sculpted. Like a statue carved slowly by a chisel, your repeated actions are shaping your soul into something more solid, more defined, more true. And perhaps the most liberating realization is this: you don't have to believe in yourself to begin. Belief is not a prerequisite for action. Action is the birthplace of belief. Show up uncertain, show up tired. Show up doubting, just show up, because eventually your actions will speak louder than your doubts, and one day, without needing to convince yourself, you will simply know. This is who I am. The mind is a creature of rhythm. Beneath the surface of your thoughts, behind every decision you believe you're making freely, there is a pattern forming, anchoring, repeating. This is not weakness. It is design. The human psyche, for all its complexity, craves familiarity. It seeks repetition because repetition feels safe. When the world is unpredictable and circumstances shift without warning, the mind retreats into what it knows. and what it knows best is what it has done again and again. This is why rituals hold such quiet power. They provide the structure that our inner world so desperately needs. When you feed the mind chaos, when your days are unstructured, when your decisions change with every mood, you confuse yourself. You dilute your strength. You become exhausted, not from effort, but from indecision. But when you feed your mind pattern, when you wake at the same hour, when you begin your day with the same small rituals, when your habits are aligned with your intentions, a powerful transformation begins. You no longer have to fight yourself. You no longer have to negotiate with every task. What was once resistance becomes flow. What was once discipline becomes nature. It does not matter if the ritual is grand or small. What matters is that it is repeated with care. You can start by linking new habits to old ones. After you brush your teeth, take 2 minutes to breathe. After your morning coffee, write down 3 tasks. These are not meaningless exercises. They are anchor points, psychological handrails that prevent you from slipping into chaos. The mind recognizes these cues. Over time, they become internal chains, connecting your actions to deeper meaning, tying discipline to identity. This is not theory, it is fact. According to a 2009 study from University College London, it takes an average of 66 days to form a new habit. Not 21, as so many popular myths claim. 6 days of repetition. 6 days of doing something, even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. The first days are always difficult. The mind resists what is unfamiliar. It wants to return to the old, even if the old is harmful. But if you are consistent, if you push forward through the initial resistance, your brain begins to change. Literally, new neural pathways form. Actions that once felt forced begin to feel natural. Eventually, they feel like you. This is why motivation cannot be trusted. Motivation is a fleeting emotion. It visits like wind, light, temporary, easily scattered. It might push you for a moment, but it will abandon you the next. You cannot build a life on emotion. You must build it on systems, stable, repeatable, dependable patterns of behavior that are immune to how you feel on any given day. This is how you move from chaos to order, from confusion to clarity. You show up again and again until showing up becomes who you are. Think of the musician who practices the same scales every morning. The first 100 times, it is mechanical. The 200th, it becomes smoother. By the 1000th, it is effortless beauty. The fingers no longer think, they just know. The same principle applies to your life. At first, your discipline will feel artificial. You will drag yourself to the gym. You will write poorly, you will feel frustrated, but if you stay with it, if you remain inside the pattern, one day you will wake up and realize you no longer need to force yourself. The habit has become identity. The pattern has become the path, and the best part, once one pattern is in place, others follow. Your confidence grows not because of what you've accomplished, but because you now trust yourself to act. You've proven in 1,000 small ways that you are not ruled by chaos, you are guided by choice, and that is how consistency becomes freedom. Ambition is one of the most misunderstood forces in the human soul. It burns brightly, yes, but like any fire, it needs structure to be useful. Left uncontained, it rages for a moment and dies, leaving only ashes of regret and unmet dreams. Most people have ambition. They feel it stir within them at the edge of sleep, in quiet moments of reflection, or when they watch someone else achieve what they secretly desire. But few know what to do with it. They hold their grand goals like distant stars, beautiful but unreachable, and they paralyze themselves in the shadow of their own dreams. You want to write a book, but the idea of 300 pages weighs down on you. You want to change your life, but the vision is so big, so abstract, that you don't know where to begin. And because you don't know where to begin, you don't begin at all. This is where ambition becomes a trap, when it becomes too large to touch, too sacred to disturb. But the truth is, the path to your goal is not paved with giant leaps. It is built, one ritual at a time, by breaking the mountain into manageable stones. There is nothing romantic about writing 300 words a day. Nothing heroic about lacing up your shoes for a 30-minute walk. Nothing impressive about choosing a home-cooked meal over a late-night craving. And yet, these quiet decisions, repeated day after day, have more power to change your life than the loudest burst of inspiration. You don't need to see the entire road ahead. You only need to see the next step clearly and trust yourself enough to take it. The illusion that transformation happens suddenly has stolen years from countless lives. Real growth is not explosive, it is persistent. Think of a father working 2 jobs, exhausted from long shifts, with barely enough time to catch his breath. He doesn't have hours of leisure. He doesn't sit by a window with tea and muse over sentences. Yet he wrote a best-selling novel. How? By rising just 30 minutes earlier than the rest of his house and writing 500 words, not because he had time, because he made it a ritual. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't easy. But it was consistent. He didn't wait for perfect conditions. He didn't write the entire book in one inspired weekend. He simply never stopped walking. He carried one stone at a time. Rituals are not cages. They are scaffolding. They hold you steady when emotion would knock you down, when you're tired, when you're uninspired, when life inevitably disrupts your plans. Your rituals protect you. They give you something to return to. Something you can still do even when the world around you is falling apart. You might not be able to scale the entire mountain when you're grieving, when you're anxious, when you're broken, but you can still carry one stone. And that is enough. People often talk about success as if it is a singular event, a breakthrough, a promotion, a discovery. But success, real and lasting, is a result of rituals that are small enough to repeat and meaningful enough to endure. It is brushing your soul daily, just as you brush your teeth. It is checking in with your goals as routinely as you check your phone. It is treating your future not as a destination to fantasize about, but as something that depends entirely on the structure of your present. What you do consistently becomes your reality. What you reduce to ritual becomes sacred. When you break your big goals into small, livable patterns, you give your ambition not just a voice, but a body. A way to move, a way to grow, and one day you will look back not at a single act of greatness, but at the 1,000 ordinary days that made you who you are. Every action you repeat, no matter how small, is a thread in the fabric of your becoming. Over time, those threads form the identity you wear, the character you express, and the destiny you live. This is not a poetic metaphor. It is a law of the psyche. What you do consistently, you reinforce. You lay down mental grooves in your brain, emotional patterns in your heart, and behavioral signatures in your body. These grooves deepen with every repetition until they become your path, walked not because it's right, but because it's familiar. That is the power of consistency. It compounds silently, invisibly, until one day it is you. But what we often forget, what we so easily ignore, is that inconsistency also compounds, and it is just as powerful, though far more destructive. The things you postpone today do not disappear, they accumulate interest. They pile up silently in the corners of your consciousness. The workout you skipped, the book you didn't read, the apology you didn't make, the boundary you didn't set. These do not vanish. They gather weight, and over time that weight becomes unbearable, not all at once. That's the deception. Inconsistency punishes you gradually, so that by the time you realize the damage, the erosion has already begun. Most people imagine change as a dramatic act, a grand decision, a radical transformation. But transformation is rarely loud. It is rarely sudden. It is the result of choices made quietly, consistently, over time. You don't destroy your health by one bad meal, nor do you heal it with one salad. You don't lose yourself in a single mistake, nor do you find yourself in a single act of discipline. You drift, you wander. One missed commitment becomes two, one excuse becomes a habit, and one day you look in the mirror and see someone you no longer recognize, not because of tragedy, but because of subtle neglect. Now imagine brushing your teeth only once a week. It seems absurd. We all understand that our teeth, to remain healthy, must be cleaned daily. Yet we do not extend the same understanding to our goals, our relationships, or our inner life. We feed our bodies intermittently and expect them to flourish. We nurture our dreams sporadically and wonder why they don't grow. We connect with loved ones only when convenient and are shocked when bonds weaken. Consistency is not a luxury. It is the nourishment of every living thing. Without it, even the strongest will wither. Consider the average person scrolling through social media for 2 hours a day. That's 730 hours a year, over 30 full days, an entire month of your life given away. Not invested, not chosen, given away. What if just half of that time, 365 hours, was spent learning a new skill, writing, exercising, creating, or simply sitting in silence and reflecting? That isn't a minor shift. That is a new life, not because the action is massive, but because it's repeated. That's the difference between distraction and destiny, repetition. One compounds into growth, the other compounds into decay. We must remember, the universe does not reward occasional intensity. It rewards relentless consistency. One day of brilliance is eclipsed by a month of apathy. One great effort cannot undo 100 small neglects. But one small effort, repeated daily, can rebuild what has been broken, reignite what has dimmed, and realign what has drifted. There is no neutral ground. You are always becoming something. You are always investing, either in your power or in your pain. And time, that quiet accountant, keeps the balance with perfect precision. So ask yourself not what you wish for, but what you do repeatedly. That will tell you everything, because eventually your rituals write your reality. And every day you show up faithfully, quietly, even when it feels pointless, is a vote for a future that will one day thank you. Force yourself to be consistent, not because it's easy, but because it's powerful. Because the version of you that has everything you want is already alive, hidden behind every disciplined choice you are yet to make. Do not wait for the right mood, the perfect morning, or the magical alignment of stars. Begin now, begin broken, begin tired, begin unsure, but begin, and do it again tomorrow. Your future is not written in dreams. It is carved by habits, one consistent day at a time.